If I talk more about the benefits of animal movement patterns and primal workout routines, you would start thinking that I am part of a psyop from Big Animal, trying to infiltrate humanity. Alas, that is not true. Those exercises are just that good and pretty much superior to a large chunk of exercises we commonly do at the gym. That's probably the reason why so many martial arts and so many practices like yoga that go back thousands of years incorporate animal movement style patterns.
Tiger style versus leopard style.
They can help you work not only on your strength, but also on your flexibility, your endurance and your cardiovascular system, but most importantly, on your coordination and the type of control you can build over your body that is hard to rival with classic hypertrophy exercises. Which is why today we're gonna go through a complete animal style movement workout that's gonna help you improve all of those fitness foundations and then some. So if you're ready, let's go have some fun. First things first, we're gonna mobilize the bits and pieces we're gonna need the most by putting controlled pressure on them. Simply lower into a deep squat position, bring our hands to the floor. Starting from here, all we wanna do is simply bring our knees down to the floor and push our spine into extension and really actively push our hands into the floor, working on our wrist as well as on our ankle, knee and hip mobility and our spine. Switching back into a deep squat with a flexed spine and really tucking in our chin to lengthen and round in our posterior chain in our upper body as much as possible. So moving forward, actively pressing our toes into the floor, pressing our hands into the floor and switching into extension, opening up into external shoulder rotation and reversing all the way, feet flat, spine rounded and flexed core as well as hip flexors, because we are actively trying to lengthen our body towards the floor. Only 2 more times. Down and extension. And up and flexion. And one final time, down and extension, holding as flexed as possible for 3, 2, 1, and rounding, pulling in, holding for 4, 3, 2, 1. Now adding a little bit more flexibility to this, from here we're gonna extend our legs as far as we can and then push our shoulders forward and actively once again put as much pressure on our wrists as we can without experiencing any pain. Lengthening our forearms, helping us stretch those out as well. And now we have an amazing posterior chain stretch before we reverse back into what is our starting position, deep squat, flexed spine, lengthened shoulders, and flexed core and hip flexors, lengthening and pulling inwards all the way. Extension, elevate your hips, push forward, and really drive those hands into the floor. And reverse, only 2 more times. Extension, pushing forward. And reversal. And one final time, extension, pushing forward and holding for 3, 2, 1, and reversing. For our final mobilization exercise, we are now going to combine the last 2 by simply, number 1, switching into a deep squat with flat feet, then switching into an extension in our legs, elevating as far as we can, and then number 3, pushing our shoulders forward as far as we can. And when reversing, number 1, first into a deep squat with planted feet, then knees down all the way, and number 3, spinal extension, opening up our shoulders. Number 1, pull in. Number 2, extend. Number 3, push forward. And when reversing, number 1, deep squat. Number 2, knees down. Number 3, spinal extension. Only 2 more times. Flatten your feet, extend your legs, push forward, hold, reversing, deep squat, knees down, extend, and final time, feet flat, elevate, push forward, hold for 3, 2, 1, and reverse all the way. In between exercises, we're simply gonna get up, shake it off a little bit, release any sort of tension we might carry, because the more relaxed we are during those exercises, the better we will be at executing them. Now, for our very first animal pattern, we're gonna get into a quadruped position and try and elevate our knees the tiniest bit, starting with a very beginner-friendly bear crawl. We wanna move the left foot with the right hand and the right foot with the left hand. We're gonna do very short steps, left with right and right with left. And we're actively planting our toes into the floor to push forward. So we keep as much pressure on our quads and as much strength requirements for our quads as we can. Moving forward, left with right and right with left. Only 2 more steps, slowly, controlled. And now here comes the interesting part for all of those. We will every time try and reverse our movement pattern by simply moving backwards the same way we moved forward. We're holding a lot of tension in our core, a lot of tension on our shoulders, and a metric shit ton of strength requirements for our hip flexors and leg musculature. Short, tiny, controlled, and slow. Getting up, shaking it out. The next movement pattern, this time a more ape-like movement style, planting our fists on the floor and once again moving right with left and left with right. And what's really important here is to actively push your spine into extension, which we were working on before when mobilizing. So we can do exactly that in a controlled fashion. This is going to help us activate our quads and our core and our spinal musculature a lot more than if we were super lax and rounded in our back. Very short, tiny movements. And if your wrists start hurting, you can also open up like so, or take a short break. Now once again, reversing. Try and stay in a spinal extension, or at the very least in a neutral lumbar spinal position. And if you feel it in your quads, just take a break before you really start cramping up. We're almost there, only 2 more steps. A 1, a 2, and shaking it out all the way. Really relax everything, let loose. We're gonna get into our very first lateral move. Once again, squatting down, fists on the floor, and as we said, moving sideways. First, both fists, and then very tiny controlled jump and switching. Now we wanna actively hold the highest part for like half a second only, so we can adjust and add as much core strength as possible to this movement before we switch sides, like so. Try and hold the flexed core, hip flexors, and spinal musculature to stay up here the tiniest bit. And now we're actively adding a lot more pressure on our shoulders and our wrists, helping them become both stronger as well as conditioning the joints so they can take more pressure as we advance in our workouts. Only 2 more jumps. Up. Final jump. Up. And once again, really shaking it out. All the way. Take a deep breath in. We're gonna switch back to frontal movement patterns, and this time, once again, hands flat on the floor. We're gonna elevate our hips until they are at the very least shoulder height or above them, and now push our shoulders forward so we can put more pressure on our wrists. Right with left and left with right. Flex your core, move slowly and controlled. Now we're adding a little bit more posterior chain flexibility as well as more shoulder strength to the classic bear we did before. And of course, reversing right with left, left with right, which is a little bit harder once you start elevating your hips as much as we did. Now, final 2 steps. And once again, shaking it out. Now you see, the sets themselves are not that long. We're simply going backwards and forwards for like 20 seconds, but combining all of them together will make for a nice workout that you can pretty much do every single day if you feel like it. Once again, for a lateral movement pattern. And this time, we're gonna try and really lengthen those moves, which means that once again, fists on the floor, sideways, elevate, and then extending a leg. And now it's really important, we're actively pushing our hips downwards to open up our hips, working our knee and ankle mobility, add as much adductor flexibility as possible before we switch to the side once more. Elevate, extend, pushing our hips down, opening up all the way, switching positions, up. And since this is a very long movement pattern, we're gonna repeat this for 2 lengths, forward and backwards. Switching to the right, always into both directions, always forward and backwards, so we can reap as many coordination benefits as possible from our animal movement style. So, switching directions once more, full extension. This is one of the most amazing exercises for hip mobility as well as leg strength you can work on, especially for our adductors, or the muscles that are responsible for closing our hips, and our glutes, the ones responsible for opening them, like so, as well as extending them, of course. All the way, and once again up, shaking it out, all the way. Deep breath, maybe if you got some tea, perfect training beverage. And back into our starting position for one of my favorite posterior chain mobility exercises, because now we're going to actively extend our legs all the way so we can go through a giraffe walk, left with right and right with left. Now, of course, you don't have to be able to fully lock out your knees. If you cannot, if this is the end of your range of motion, absolutely perfect. Over time, as your posterior chain flexibility improves, this should become a lot easier to handle. Right with left and left with right. If you can, however, lock those knees, keep your legs extended all the way, and maybe even move into a neutral spinal position to maximize the posterior chain flexibility we have. Final step, reversing, reversing, reversing. Tiny, controlled movements. If possible, our legs are completely extended and our spine is somewhat neutral. And shaking it out. Shaking it out all the way. Deep breaths. And back into our starting position. While the giraffe walk is amazing for a posterior chain stretch, once you combine it with the duck walk for an anterior chain stretch, specifically our hip flexors, our quads, and our lower abdominals, like so, upper body as upright as possible, pushing our knee forward until it touches down. Both knees are down, adductors long, hip flexors long, quads long, lower abdominals long. Now we're gonna step forward once more, plant our foot, and then actively push our knees forward all the way until they touch down, and only then do we elevate the other leg and step forward. Combining duck walk with giraffe walk is amazing for flexibility benefits. Now, since we don't really have space here, we're gonna turn around. And once again, knee down, rolling over our toes, helping us a lot with our foot musculature, both when it comes to strength, as well as flexibility as well, which is pretty important and sadly too neglected for most people. Forward, knee down, all the way. Now comes the really hard part, reversing the duck, like so. First, plant your foot, knee back, and then elevate. Plant your foot and knee back, requiring a massive amount of strength in our hip flexors, in our core, and in our foot musculature, which is over time gonna help us become better at pretty much every single movement pattern that requires a lower body. Turning around, one more time, backwards, elevating a knee, and stepping back, elevating a knee, stepping back, up, 2 more steps, then we've got it, all the way back. Final time, up, all the way back, and once again, shake it out. Time for another 5-second tea break. Very good. For a more fun movement pattern, hands on the floor, and now we're gonna move with both feet simultaneously and try and jump further than our hands are planted, which means just like so, before, hands forward And one more frog leap, controlled. Once again, a lot of activation in our core, as well as a lot of flexibility for our hips, especially when it comes to deep squat mobility or squat mobility in general. And reversing this one, truly easy, hands behind our feet before we jump backwards. Once again, requiring a lot of core engagement. We're only doing tiny jumps. And since this one is a very fun and very easy one to handle, we're gonna repeat it for another length. Forward, and hands, and forward, and hands. You can also, of course, hold for half a second at the top, like so, up, and reversing for another 3, 2, and final jump before we move back into our loosey-goosey walks. This one, once again, helping us a lot with quad strength and jumping capabilities for those of you who want to work more on their fast twitch muscle fibers and stuff like, for instance, vertical leaps. With the next pattern, once again, we're gonna have a lot of fun. I enjoy this one very much because, once again, amazing amount of posterior chain flexibility, external rotation in our shoulders. The ostrich walk looks pretty stupid, but is very nice exercise. Left foot forward, hands on the backside, right foot forward, hands on the outside. 1 and 2. And actively pulling our upper body closer towards our leg with every single step. I know it looks stupid, maybe you don't want to do this at the gym, but if you're doing this at home, which animal movement patterns are perfect for, then you shouldn't have a problem at all. And now reversing. Step back, hands flat. Step back, hands on the backside. And pulling our upper body down by flexing our quads and our hip flexors. All the way. Tuck. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And final step. And loosen up. Walk it off. Enjoy. We've got only 2 more movements before we're practically done. Take a deep breath in. Because with this one, you're gonna notice the difficulty level really spike, going for the lizard walk, which basically combines the masterful coordination of your entire body with a lot of strength and flexibility. So we're gonna get into a quadruped position like so. And then before we get started, right hand forward, left foot forward, elevate your knees and lower down with your body all the way. Open your shoulders and elbows sideways. Now we're trying to work as close to the floor as possible. Right hand with the left, moving into as much rotation in our hips as we can. One leg completely extended before we switch, rotating into the other direction. And switch, rotating into the other direction. All the way down, close to the floor. Add as much rotation as you can, controlled. And now, of course, reversing, requiring a ton of strength and coordination and a lot of flexibility for our hips by opening up through those rotations. Final step backwards, because we're gonna do this for a second length. Forward, rotate inwards, opening up our chest, our pecs and anterior delts, and even stretching our biceps at the top insertions surrounding our delts. All the way down. Final reversal, we're basically doing full push-ups here by pushing our entire body weight backwards in a somewhat explosive manner. And once again, going for a short walk before we move into our final pattern. This one really deserves another sip of tea. Deep breaths. Try and relax. I've only got 1 more left. This one's gonna get interesting. We're gonna lower down into our classic ape style movement. And now from here, with every single step, we're gonna start elevating our hips more. So, right with left, left with right. Every step a tiny bit higher with our hips. And of course, moving controlled and slow. Now moving from an ape-like movement pattern into a somewhat extended bear, into a full-on giraffe, all the way forward. And now when reversing, doing the opposite. Bending slightly, bending even more, bending even more. So we're now actively working on combining multiple patterns with multiple different styles as well as focuses. One more time. Forward, forward, faster, faster, extending all the way up and backwards. Extended, bent, bend more, bend more, bend more, bend more, bend more, and back. That's it. That was all you need to do. And there you go, a basically complete animal movement routine you can do pretty much every single day to help you work on your full body strength, coordination, and flexibility, helping you achieve more and more mobility as you progress, and helping you work on that cardio system and strengthening your heart, and all of that in one single workout. With that said, if you like the video and come on, join us. We do stuff like that pretty often, which means that I'll very likely see you soon. So until then, have a good one. Captain Cairo, peace out.